All right, Evan, how are we doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good, my man. How about yourself?
Pretty good. So, what have you been up to during the quarantine period and now that it's like kind of over?
Um, it's kind of strange, man. It feels like it's over, but it's still training and everything's been just like completely stopped. There's no training, no college training whatsoever. Coach Boner doesn't think we'll be training till at least the end of August at this point. The universities and stuff are pretty conservative with this whole thing, so they're trying to stay locked down. But for the most part, I went back to California for about 2.5 months, man, which was great because I got to see my family for a longer time than I usually go home like 3 weeks over the summer. Go one week here, one week there.
Yeah.
But I've been wanting to get back to California and have a big chunk of time to hang out with my family, but it was bittersweet because the whole quarantine thing. But I've been trying to train my dad's just a total fitness person, so I've been running with him every night and training lifting weights with him every night. But
Nice.
my twin brother Xander, who actually came here to the University of Wisconsin with me. He got he's a little banged up. He had medically hardship, so he can't really train that much. And my little brother Luca actually this year couldn't compete at state because he tore his MCL, so I didn't have anyone to train with back there. So I had to come back here, and right now I'm training with Patrick Spray. But I did have a training situation back in California with Sydney Flores from Air Force, and then Michael Goldfeder from North Carolina. So we had like our own Air Force, North Carolina, Wisconsin RTC back there, which was pretty cool. But now I'm just at the advanced facility trying to get like some lifting in and wrestling with my buddy Patrick Spray.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was telling you before this, I was in Middleton last time. I wrestled at
Right.
Advance with some of the coaches there.
Oh,
But
okay, okay.
yeah, it's a nice
Yeah,
little
it's
place.
now under Askren. Askren kind of took that over, and it's
Oh,
Askren.
already?
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know if it
So,
was like at the end of 2020 or something, but okay.
no,
Nice.
they bought it out. Tristan, I think Tristan Moran. I don't know if I'm allowed to disclose that. So this might be
I
the
can always edit
some.
it out.
Yeah, no, you don't need to, but he's going to be running that. But we saw actually the guy who owned it yesterday, Brad something.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Yeah,
Did he have his
but
dog with him?
yeah, he had his dog with him. His dog was pretty funny. Yeah,
Awesome dog.
yeah.
Um, do they still, do you remember if they still have the posters of all the state champs up there?
Oh, I was thinking that's unfortunate. It's almost like the whole Gold's Gym situation. Gold's Gym had all the bodybuilders up, and then they took them all down. But so they took down all the wrestling posters and stuff, which was I thought was a bummer. But they'll have some new Askren guys up in there, so that'd be cool.
Yeah. No, I just mentioned that because one of like my best friends at lacrosse, he graduated 2 years ago, but he was a state champ for advance, I guess, and he was up there and he's like, "Man, I'm gonna be so pissed if they take it down." But
Yeah,
that's
man, that
hilarious.
stinks. That
That's
sucks for a
funny.
lot of guys who are they're training there their whole life and
Yeah.
didn't get their poster up at the last second, or they had their poster up for a long time and now it's getting taken down. That's kind of a
Yeah.
bummer. But
No, that's true.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, the quarantine's been nice, like because so like in wrestling, I was super into wrestling when I did it at the Division
yeah,
3 level, but it's still it eats up like your entire life pretty much. So it's
yeah.
weird going from a like seeing your parents like one day a month or whatever to like being with them for 2 months, but it's kind of refreshing and imagine it's
Yeah,
nice for you too.
it's a really good change of pace. I mean, I train. I've been training. Once I started wrestling, I've been training basically 11 months year round. I take like maybe a month off total the whole year. So, I think quarantine was a good opportunity for guys who are maybe just overtraining, and especially with the college season. I mean, you probably know as well as I do. It's kind of overwhelming with all these competitions, and you're training incredibly hard year round. So it's good to take a break and kind of recharge the battery. It's kind of like taking a long nap. You just feel really refreshed afterwards, and I feel like more excited to wrestle now than I ever did. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, how did you excuse me, how did you originally get into wrestling?
I started wrestling when I think it was a month before my 11th or 12th birthday. So I was pretty young, not as young as a lot of other guys. I remember when I started, there were kids who were wrestling for like 6, 7 years already. But I started wrestling at Elsinore High School in California, and I was like a scrappy kid. I just wanted to hurt people. I always wanted to get in fights. I never got in fights in school or anything. I I minded my own business, but I always was pretty aggressive with my brothers and stuff. And, I remember my older brother used to beat me up. So I wanted to put the pain on someone else for once.
Like
Um,
Xander or another brother?
Xander, yeah, I beat
Okay.
Xander up a good amount, but I don't know. He got really strong at about the age of 13. He hit his growth spurt before I did, and he was beating me up at that point. So that was kind of strange. But yeah, my dad wrestled in high school. My uncle wrestled in high school as well. I remember like in my grandfather's place. He has like a all my uncle's memorabilia from wrestling. And that was like the whole family knew about my uncle's wrestling, so I always wanted to wrestle.
Nice.
Yeah, I took
And
I
you
took second at my first tournament, lost to Eddie Ramirez from San Jacinto, I believe, and I'll never forget that.
will you never forget it because like it was your first loss, or is he like what did he become someone kind of
No,
later
I
on?
haven't. I remember I beat him like maybe like 5 months later.
Okay.
Um, I beat him
That
like
must
five
feel
one.
good.
Yeah, yeah. I was like all I had my first 2 years of wrestling was a head and arm. I mean, so
Okay.
if I didn't get the head and arm, I was losing. But I just remember it, yeah, because it was my first loss. I lost 6-8. I forget where it was, but I just remember because it was my first loss and it was just devastating. I didn't know how to react to it at the time. And then you kind of get familiar with how people react and what's the mature way to react to wrestling. So I think that time I just cried a lot. But
Yeah, that's pretty standard.
yeah. I
Um,
feel like that was pretty normal. That was like the norm for a lot of people who
yeah.
used to.
And I don't know if you know this, but I run a little meme page, and the head and arm is a common topic that comes up.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah. I see that up a lot. I lost that habit a long time ago. I'm all leg attacks now.
nice. Yeah, as we've seen in your wrestling.
Yeah.
Um, what was your high school like? Like, so I know in California, I spent like a month there. After my freshman year of college, I was doing research in a biolab, and then I changed my major after that because I didn't
All
like it.
right.
But anyways, in like San Francisco, a lot of the schools I feel like don't really, their big thing is like academics instead of
Right.
sports, and in the Midwest, it seems to be like people care a lot more about sports. Is that like how it was at your school?
Yeah, there's certain communities in California that care a lot more about sports. Where I grew up, the Temecula area definitely cared more about sports and athletics than academics. But then I went to high school at San Marino, and it was like polar opposite. The football games would have like 50 people show up, where
Oh,
before, like where I grew up, the stands were sold out on each side. So the whole community was definitely a lot more supportive of athletics. Like me and my brother were the first twins to win state in California history ever, and there was like not a mention of it in the school. But
really?
which was, I mean, it was standard. If football did anything, no one cared. I think football took second in state my senior year, and there wasn't much of a mention of it. But
Oh.
yeah, it's a lot different in California. Actually, when I visit high schools around here, they're all indoors.
Hmm.
All the high schools in California are outdoor. So like the lockers are outside, everything. If it rains, you get rained on. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no long winter, so people aren't
Yeah.
freezing.
What is that like? Like when you first got here and had to experience the Wisconsin winter.
Dude, it was brutal. I remember when it got down to like 30, like 20 or 30 degrees. I was like, this is ridiculous. And then it dropped.
Then it gets worse.
I think it's way worse. And you you never know how to judge it because it kind of goes in ebbs and flows. Sometimes it gets better and you're like, here we go, like it's about to get better, and then it drops again.
Yeah.
But it was so hard to get used to. I remember my first year I wore like 3 pairs of sweatpants and 3 sweaters and a parka everywhere because I was just so bitterly cold. So I'd have to take actually like a couple layers of pants off before class started. So I looked like a total weirdo. But yeah,
That's
it
funny.
was brutal, man. I missed California a lot. I got really homesick my first year here. But then I started to open up and enjoy it a lot more.
Um, yeah, so like what ended up making you choose Wisconsin, I guess? Just based off of how different it is from California.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. I always tell people in preparing for the like how cold it was in Wisconsin is like I was prepared for how cold it was going to be. I wasn't prepared for how long it was going to be cold. That
It's
was
the
the brutal thing.
grind.
Yeah, it's a grind, man. It's just it's so long and it just beats you down. But we came down here a couple times for like the cadet world team camp, and
Okay.
we loved the place. We loved the coaches. They really wanted us here. I remember they pulled us aside after like our junior year. They were like, "We've seen you guys here all the time, and we compared you against all these world teams. Me and my brother weren't that good. We were just like a couple kids who managed to get to the world team camp. I didn't place at world team trials, but they saw me and Xander in the room, and we were training really hard and competing really hard. And they're like, "You're the best guys in here. We want you guys here." So we just felt like they really wanted us here. We took a couple visits. We went to Iowa State, Drexel, Virginia, and then we were going to go to either Nebraska, North Carolina, or Arizona State. We just decided we were going to commit because we loved it here. There was a really good team atmosphere here. We felt, and the coaches wanted us here so bad. We couldn't say no to that, you know.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Appleton. Do you know where that is?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I've definitely heard of Appleton. That's
it's
isn't the other AWA around there?
there might be one around
Yeah.
there, but um it's about 2 hours north of Madison. But
Okay.
anyways, my family like bought another house, like kind of moved there, to Philly like 2 years ago. How did you like Drexel? I'm just curious.
Drexel, for me, I love the coaching staff. Matt Azevedo is the coach there, who is actually the nephew of my high school coach, John Azevedo. So
Okay.
John Azevedo was, an Olympic team member. He's the head coach at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo with Boris Novachkov, Chase Pammy, and Chad Mendez. Um, so I had a connection with him throughout my whole high school career. So he was one of the guys who recruited us, and he was such an awesome guy, such a great coach. But Drexel itself, in my personal opinion, was just kind of a confusing campus because when you go to Wisconsin, it's like you get a real college feel. You got the football stadium, and it feels like everything about Wisconsin. There's like the aura of being a Badgers everywhere. Where when I went to Drexel, it was like I couldn't tell, is this a Drexel building or is this just like one of these big skyscrapers in Philadelphia? The buildings are kind of scattered. There's no football
Yeah.
team. So it just didn't seem like a very uh, I don't know, like a college campus to me. It felt like almost like a community college.
Yeah.
So it was kind of strange, but Philadelphia was awesome. I think that's one thing if I had committed there, I would have really enjoyed was just the big city feel because I grew up where I went to high school about 20 minutes from downtown Los Angeles. So I really enjoyed being in the big city and going out to eat, going to malls. There's like in Philadelphia, there's like Little Italy or something. So
Mhm.
we got like Philly cheesesteaks from the
Oh
place that
yeah.
invented Philly cheesesteaks.
Dude,
So
those are good. Those are
yeah,
good.
yeah. Oh, this is incredible.
Um, but be glad you're not there right now with the riots and everything. I know they're
Uh,
bad in Madison, but dude, Philly, it's a different animal.
yeah, some places have the military, right? Like the
Yeah.
military's coming in and getting involved. Thank
Yeah.
God we don't have that. It was
Yeah.
it was kind of scary here in Madison for a little bit. State Street was getting wild. And there's boards over all the windows because people are just smashing windows everywhere.
Yeah.
But there's like it's cool that people are painting stuff, so it looks prettier than just a bunch of drywall plastered, pasted over some windows.
Yeah. Yeah, my sister, she's gonna be a senior there, so she has an apartment. I don't really remember where it is. Actually, it's part of a house, but she didn't want to drive there last weekend to pick up her stuff because she was like scared
Yeah,
to park her car in the street. So,
yeah, yeah. We actually offered our house because we know some people who live down by State Street. We have a big house. We were like, if you guys want to stay here overnight, it's perfectly fine. You know, it was getting that seemingly dangerous.
yeah. Who are you roommates with?
We have a big house. So there's the attic has my brother Xander Wick and then Ethan Rotondo, our 25 pounder. And then on the second floor where I'm at, we have me, Patrick Spray, Tyler Dow. And then the first floor has next year is going to be Devin Barr, but last year it was Taylor Watkins. And
Okay.
then in the basement is actually Garrett Model and Trent Hilger. So there's like a total of 7 or 8 people here in this house. So
Nice.
it's kind of crazy. It's packed.
Well, so back to wrestling. I guess
Yeah.
like I kind of started paying attention to you more. I mean, the first time I saw you was when you were a Badger, just because I'm from Wisconsin. I love the Badgers. But I remember like you were pretty good, and then in the NCAA tournament, you just kind of like really found your spotlight on the backside when you took third.
Yep.
Like, what was that feeling like?
That was actually it was pretty nerve wracking. I lost to McFadden in the quarterfinals. I think I got a little nervous because it was kind of like, okay, this is the match to make me an All American. If I beat this guy, I'm an All American, and that was kind of nerve wracking. Didn't have my best performance that match, and then I dropped down on top of Nick Wanzek, and I remember that night. I don't know how I got any sleep because I was just so nervous. I was the last guy in the tournament, and it was Barry's last uh, tournament as a coach ever. And
Oh
so I
yeah.
was like, I got to be the guy to get him. I got to be an All American at least for his last year. It's going to stink if he has no All Americans his last year. So I was pretty nervous going into that blood round match. And then I ended up locking up a cradle and pinning Wanzek. And then from there on out, I was like, okay, I'm an All American. Like, it doesn't matter what happens here on out. Like, I was prepared. It sounds bad saying this, but I was prepared to fight my ass off. But I was also, I was prepared to lose. So, but it suited me well because I went out there and I beat up everyone that I wrestled after that. I had John J. Chavez, Marinelli, and then actually Marsteller was beating me, I think 4-1 going into the second when I picked top and pinned him. So, but I was ecstatic, man. I've thought about the NCAA tournament every day of my life since I was probably 13 years old. Just I wanted to be on the big stage, but it was so awesome to take third, and then it was such a special experience to be Barry's last competitor ever. I mean, that was such a big deal. I felt like, and to have him there was awesome for his last match.
Um, what were your favorite parts about Barry, like as a person and his coaching style?
Barry was he was such a great guy. I mean, he cared about all of his athletes, man. If they were starter, third string, whatever. I mean, he'd do anything for you, And he was a very innovative guy. I mean, I don't know if you ever talked to him. He's kind of seems like he's got a little bit of ADD. He talks really fast, but he just has such an excitement for the sport of wrestling. It's almost like he has 50 different thoughts going at one time, which is great, man, because he's always throwing something different at you, and you're learning so much being with him. But the whole coaching staff at that time complemented each other well. Rochelle kind of held things together, and he would run a really good practice. But Brandvold too, he was in there scrapping with the guys. He was a good mind of the sport, good organizer. I think Cameron Eppert was the lightweight coach, and I know he had a great deal to offer. He made a lot of those guys a lot better. But it was a lot different than how it is now. I don't want to say they were less serious, but I think their coaching style was a bit more relaxed. We don't want to overwork these guys. We don't want to overwhelm them. We'd have like a couple months off in the summer, which I think is, there's depends on how you look at it. It's great to recharge the batteries and get people excited about wrestling. But there's also how it is now. It's like we get 3 weeks off in the summer, which is tough. It can be overwhelming at times, but you're getting so much better having that much more time in the room. So you just have to embrace however your coaches are doing it, you have to embrace it, and look at the bright side of things. Under Barry, I mean, I was really excited to come back into wrestling, but I wouldn't be in the best shape, coming into the season. I'd get in shape as it went on, but under Bono, it's just like it's embrace the grind. You gotta be prepared all the time, and you gotta be in the best shape all the time. So
I had a friend who lived with some of the wrestlers like 2 years ago, but
okay,
I asked him like what they thought about it, and he was pretty much like, yeah, the wrestlers say he's a lot more intense,
oh yeah,
but the wrestlers that are like kind of shitbags and don't really care about it,
yeah.
um, they're not a big fan because they have to work harder. So
Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things where Bono had to come in and change some things around because I mean, obviously, we needed some change. I think and that suited a lot of those guys in that class. Like that senior year class, the guys who had gone under Barry for so long. I think when Bono came in, it was something different that really kind of lighted them up and got them motivated, and they've just embraced the grind. Mason Reinhardt had an incredible season. Ryan Christensen got hurt at the end of the season, but man, he beat a couple All Americans that year, and it was something that I don't know if under the other coaching staff he would have done that, but so it was great for some people, but like you said, some people definitely didn't agree with it. It was too much. When they came in, we would have a couple months off in the summer. When they came in, it was like, nope, you're staying here the whole summer. And, by the way, we have 5:45 morning sprints. You got lift right afterwards. And then we're going to have hour grind matches in the afternoon, where usually we'd have nothing. We'd be home.
Yeah.
So it was different.
Yeah, and that's like probably pretty good sometimes because it kind of trims the fat and keeps separates the committed guys from the uncommitted guys.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But it's incredible. We're going to be in the best shape, um, in better shape than any other team in the country, I feel like. But I think, this coronavirus was a good opportunity for the guys who were committed to kind of, okay, recharge your batteries. I think we're going to be a devastating team. Some of our guys are going to be just super motivated, in the best shape of their lives as well, next year. So I think I'm looking forward to this next year and what our team can do, um,
yeah,
a lot.
I've never met Bono, but he seems like he just has like a captivating energy that he has with him at all times. Like if you're around him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's given a speech before practice every single day, and he's a really personable guy. He can relate to anyone, and um, he's very straightforward. He's going to call a spade a spade. So you need that honesty in your corner as an athlete. You have to trust those guys, and I would say him and John Reeder, man. If you're under them, they will do anything for you. They will do absolutely anything for you. So they're just such great guys, and they take care of their athletes, man. And they're very business minded. They're good with administration, and they came in and we had a completely different. We got like a spotlight for our duels, which we never had. There's the spotlight, and then our attendance skyrocketed after that. So they're very business minded people. They're in the room from, I'm telling you, probably 4 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's their life.
I've always wanted to go to a duel, but I haven't been able to just because like we had wrestling, but next
Right.
year I'm looking forward to it. How has that duel environment changed? Like what is it like wrestling there now versus before when the attendance wasn't as crazy?
Oh, the attendance wasn't as crazy, but also the coaching was different. It was a lot. It was almost like a golfing match before, which can be good. I think there's some people who respond well to a calm energy in the corner, and there's some people who respond really well to like that Iowa style where they're just screaming at you got that these guys, and they're screaming at the ref, and they're looking for stalling calls, which is obviously that's what Bono and them are doing. It's a really rowdy environment now. Like a smaller Hawkeye arena, right now with the fans. The fans are getting into it. We got like those stalling, whatever those stalling gloves or whatever people wear
I love
at the
that.
meet. Yeah,
That's
yeah, it's
awesome.
ridiculous, man. People are screaming the whole match for stalling, and I think we just got a more involved crowd now. The crowd feels like they're a part of it, where before there's quiet. There's a takedown and there was a little bit of clapping once in a while, but now
Yeah,
people are screaming and people are getting really excited.
yeah. That helps people that go to the duels like learn the sport more. Otherwise, they're just on their phone the whole time and stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, and that's how I felt like it was before. People were kind of just on their phone, but it gives and it takes. There's some people, like I said, there's some people who responded well to Barry and Brandvold and Kyle being really, really calm in the corner. People like none of our people panicked ever. We always had our emotions under each of
like
us,
the
but
wrestlers or fans?
the
Wrestlers.
wrestlers,
Okay.
I think some people just panic under the pressure sometimes. But Bono and Reader and them respond well because I think I definitely like a calmer energy in my corner. My high school coach was very, very calm, and I think that suited me well. And I told Bono and them like I like people being calm in my corner. I don't want to look over and they're panicking, and then I think I have a reason to panic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, something I think is really cool that like the coaches at UWL did this year is they had all their incoming guys fill out like a survey on how they like to be coached, so it doesn't take a while
right.
to. They don't have to have those bumps in the roads to like figure that out. The best way to do that.
That's good, man. That the coaches will take the time to do that because that's one thing that you hear going into a college. A coach can't compensate for all 31 guys, but it's
Yeah.
like it's good if they attempt to. And I think that's a good step for a coach to take is to say, hey, I want to know how I can coach you. I know this program is about you. It's not about the coaches. It's not about their reputation. It's about the athletes and how they can be the best possible wrestler. So
Hmm.
that's really positive. And Bono and them, they do the same thing. Like I said, they love their athletes. They'll do anything for those guys. So
Yeah.
that's definitely what you need in a college program.
Yeah. I can't I can't imagine being a coach because there's really not like just one way to do it all because every guy's so much different and like you just have to take the time to get to know them and kind of mold them in different ways.
Yeah,
But
yeah, because each athlete's so unique,
yeah.
and that's I think where a lot of guys struggle in going to college is that their coaches can't really compensate for them. They can't adjust. And
Yeah.
a lot of guys just crumble under that because they feel like it's not about them. Everything's out of their control. Whatever they're going to be doing today is not going to be productive. How can you feel like you're getting better if you feel like you're not doing the things that suit you? You know, so that's definitely, I think being a good coach is harder than people think.
This
Especially
is
the athletes.
this is kind of off topic, but of your college career, but do you plan on going into coaching someday?
I do plan on going into coaching. I plan on competing for a while after college is done. Hopefully, make an Olympic team. Hopefully, win an Olympic gold medal. And then I'll go into coaching. I think I love wrestling so much, and all I've been doing basically in quarantine when I don't have anything to do, I'm just watching wrestling videos, man. So, and that's all I've ever done since high school. Is just I think I've been a good student of the sport and a good mind of how everyone wrestles, how these best guys get good. That's also a big part of that is understanding that there are guys that aren't going to become great doing it how you did it. There's guys who respond differently. There's guys who like to be coached a certain way, and there's guys who like to be coached another way. There's 10 NCAA champions when it comes down to it, and I guarantee if you ask them what it takes to be good, each one of them has a different idea, but they're all right. Every single one of them is right. What it takes to be an NCAA champion isn't. It's not just one thing. It's not just one way.
Yeah. I feel like a really fun experiment, if I was willing to like put in the time and commitment right now, would be to just go coach at like a high school that hasn't been doing very well and see how good you can make them in like 3 years or something. You know,
Yeah, that would be pretty interesting. At
test
that
them.
point, the difficult thing is getting kids like that to commit.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the best programs have like kids clubs where it's their life. Those kids they've been committed since they were 5, 6 years old. So it's easy to,
Hmm.
if you're a good coach, you'll get good results. But you could go to a program where you could be an excellent coach, but if the kids aren't committed, then you're just wasting your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like everyone that wrestles in college has had a period in their life where they made like huge jumps in their wrestling in high school. And I guess like compare that like those high school jumps to making a jump in college and like the difficulty level of those two, if that makes
Yeah, I
sense.
mean the difficult part in college is that you're tested by some of the best guys in the country every day. So it's easy to attempt to do something new in high school and then feel like, okay, yeah, this is what it takes. This is what I need to do to get better, right? Because you're gonna beat up on some guys. It's like, oh, I'm gonna start shooting a single leg, and then you shoot a single leg on a couple scrubs, and you're like, okay, yeah, I perfected my single leg. But in college, you go and you have to do it 10 times more because you try it the first time you're getting smashed. You try it the second time you're getting smashed, all the way up to like the 100th time, and you just have to really refine what you're doing. But I think the competition makes guys so much better. You have to step it up, and that's why a lot of guys don't make it because they're not willing to step up. It's really hard to be the king of your hometown and then go to a college, go to wherever you're going and find out whatever you've done up to this point doesn't mean nearly as much as you thought it did. So you have to be really like a growth mindset person in that it's like you got to work on these things, man. You're just going to get better. I think some people fall into the trap of thinking it's just not meant to be. I don't know if I'm meant to be an NCAA champion, and I don't know if I want to risk it. And I think a lot of guys fall into that trap. You just got to keep working, man. You can't worry about whether or not you're going to be an NCAA champion. You just got to work hard. You just got to keep developing your skills and trying new things.
So like you beat Marinelli pretty handily um
Right.
the first time you guys wrestled and like you've had a couple close losses since then, but
Yeah.
maybe like the uninformed fan would think you're not getting better, but obviously he's gotten a ton better. And I'm
Yeah,
sure every time you wrestle him, you're thinking about different ways that you could have improved and won that match.
yeah.
What jumps have you made the most since your freshman year in your wrestling?
I think I've become a lot more versatile. There was a point in my career where I was just shooting the same two or three shots, and I perfected those things. And I think Marinelli adjusted well, and he knew exactly what I was going to do. And then on top, again, I think my freshman year, I had the cradle, but it surprised guys. They didn't think I was as good at the cradle as I was, and I was able to
Hmm.
catch him in it and pin him. Um, so I think I've definitely adjusted well, but it took some time, man. There was a point where I think the first two times I wrestled Marinelli, it was like, okay, I'm just gonna go in there. I'm gonna try the cradle harder. I'm gonna try my ankle pick harder, and hopefully I'll get it. But that wasn't necessarily what I should have been doing. I needed to be thinking outside of the box. I needed to be thinking a little bit more creatively. How am I going to develop new things to catch him off guard? And um, that was big for me. Another thing was just I think I got a little. I don't know if I was arrogant or scared. I was getting stuck in that tie with him the whole time. These last few matches, I just get stuck in that tie, and I don't know if that was because I was like, forget it, I'm gonna beat him at his own game, or if I just felt comfortable staying in the tie.
Like over
Instead,
unders or what was that?
no, just like collar tie.
Oh,
He
okay.
gets in that collar tie position. I honestly feel pretty comfortable in there with him. I'm not I don't feel vulnerable or anything. But what I should be doing is getting out of that tie and moving him, faking, snapping, putting a few things together. That's something that I didn't do these last few matches. Was put multiple things together to set him up. I was just shooting my shot in his tie, of all things. So I just got to get out of his tie, and I got to move him from the outside like I know I can. There's I know he's gotten substantially better since the first match. That was 2.5 years ago now, or yeah, 2.5 years ago now. But I know I can beat him. I'm right there.
Oh
So
yeah, I got you to beat him next year.
yeah, yeah.
I would have had
That
you
is
beat him at NCAAs, but
yeah, yeah. He doesn't have the best, and I don't know if it's that he doesn't have the best NCAA's or he just runs into the wrong guys. Last year he ran into the guy who took first and the guy who took third. Marsteller was incredibly tough that tournament, and obviously Makai Lewis was incredibly tough that tournament. So I think he just he took seventh, which doesn't look great, but he dominated the seventh place match, and he got beat by some excellent guys in Chance Marsteller and Makai Lewis.
yeah, Marcel is definitely one of those guys that like everyone expected him to be so good that he kind of got slept on in college almost, but he's really
Yeah, and
solid.
it was weird. Even as exceptional as his college performance was, everyone was kind of underwhelmed because he was just such an exceptional college wrestler. And that was something my first time wrestling him. I actually said this in my post match interview. I looked up to the guy like my whole life. My high school coach, when I first met him in eighth grade, I think the first wrestler we ever watched on film was Chance Marsteller. He was showing me Chance Marsteller. I was 100 pounds at the time. Chance Marsteller was wrestling 170. He was just showing me this
Oh
film of
wow.
this kid, this four-time state champ from Pennsylvania, and he was telling me how exceptional this guy was and how he's the next big thing. He's going to do great things. And then my freshman year in college, I had to wrestle him, so that was hard, man. He was kind of an idol of mine growing up. I watched his film to get better, and then I was wrestling him. You know,
So out of the top dogs that you've kind of wrestled like throughout your career, like Marinelli, Chenzo,
right?
Isaiah White, those guys, who would you say is like the most technically sound?
Technically sound. I'd have to say Vincenzo Joseph is probably the most technically sound wrestler that I've wrestled. Marinelli, I said this in a podcast earlier. He's exceptional at what he does, but the times that I wrestle him, he's got two things. He does over tie, elbow pass, single leg, and he goes post high crotch. Makai Lewis is very tough when it comes to reattacks. I watched him at the U.S. Open, and he was just if you shoot on the guy and you don't get to his legs, it's over, man. He's going to get to your legs and he's going to score. And that's where when Massa beat him, he did exactly what I thought someone needed to do to take him down. He shot both hands to the leg because Makai, when I shot it on Kai at NCAA's and got taken down, I remember I shot with one hand and I didn't expect him to be so strong, and his leg slipped out and he took me down. If I had both hands on the legs, I could have held onto the leg and maybe taken it down. So I remember watching Massa get both hands to the legs, and I was like, that's what he ended up beating him and executing. Um, But then who else is there? White's pretty tough, but I don't think he's the most technically sound guy out there. Um, Marsteller is exceptionally technically sound, but I think Vincenzo edges him out.
Um, nice. Do you have you ever like talked to any of them or not really?
Yeah, actually, I talked to Massa after I call it the U.S. Open, but it was actually U.S. Nationals in Texas this year. It was an Olympic
Okay.
qualifier. I talked to Massa after his Mackay match, and I was like, yeah, I knew that was what he needed to do. I talked to him about that, and then I talked to Marsteller a little bit. He's a great guy. He's a really humble guy. I talked to him at NCAA's. Actually, we've talked a few times. There was actually my freshman year. I missed the Parade of Champions. I remember he was the one who like looked at me and was like, "Dude, you missed the Parade of Champions. Where were you?" And I was like, "Damn, I can't believe I missed the Parade of Champions." But and then he's actually my mom and his mom like talk over social media. I don't know
Okay.
what that's about, but yeah, my mom always tells me about what Mrs. Marsteller is saying. And Chance Marsteller commented on my mom's post, like called me a basketball player because I'm so tall or something. If you actually were to see me and him standing, he's like I think he's like 5'6" and I'm like 6'3", so I'm
Wow.
probably a whole head taller than him. But
How are you a 65 pounder?
dude, I'm telling you, like everyone asks me if I'm cutting a lot of weight. I'm not. I cut probably my freshman year. I would have I had a traditional with my mom my redshirt freshman year at NCAA's and the whole really at every tournament that year we would have sushi the night before. I was so light at NCAA's. I had sushi the night before weigh-ins, all three weigh-ins.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I wasn't cutting that much weight. Then I got a little bit bigger in my second year, and I stayed about that same weight, 175. So I was cutting about 10 pounds. But then when quarantine happened, I tried to get as big as I could, but it wasn't like a healthy big. I wasn't too fat, but I definitely wasn't ripped. I got up to 185. But I don't know. I may, if I can fill out 185, I may go 174. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know there's a ton of dudes at 65. Maybe 74 is a little more open. I haven't really thought about it though.
Yeah, yeah, and it'll be a good challenge too. I think seeing the same guys at 165 is kind of boring. Everyone knows how each. If you watch a lot of those matches, they're really kind of boring matches. Everyone knows what each other's going to do, and everyone's very conservative in those matches. It's mostly a defensive match if you watch those. But so it may be exciting to go up to 174 and surprise those guys. Try to get bigger. Try to get strong enough for that weight. I know those guys are strong. I looked at a lot of those 74 pounders this year, and they were strong. But yeah, I'd be excited.
I know the Chenzo match wasn't like your best match, but now that you got a feel for him, I think different. It'll be a little better next year. But what was his like? What kind of feel did he give you? I guess during that match.
I felt like he was pretty movable in the first period. And then I remember when he got on top, that was I was like, this guy's the strongest guy I've ever wrestled. When he got on top, he had like the ankle claw ride, and I remember like the ref called me for stalling twice. I think he got a point or maybe 2 points for stalling, but I was like, just couldn't do anything. He was just so strong, and he held on to that ride the whole time so tight. But um, I just felt like I didn't wrestle my best match. I think I choked up a little bit. He's a returning two-time NCAA champion, and I let that get in my head a little bit later in the match. But I really went into that match pretty confident. I don't know what happened. Something about mid-match. Once he rode me out, it was kind of like I just played defense after that. I didn't want to get majored. It's such a terrible way to wrestle, but even at the highest level, that kind of stuff happens. Um, but yeah, I'm really excited to get my hands on these guys as soon as possible. I feel like with quarantine, I've been thinking so much about wrestling. I'm thinking so much about getting better. I'm hoping um, I can come out there next year and be the guy. If next year even happens, dude, we might not even have an NCAA tournament.
Dude, don't say that.
I hope not. I
That's not cool.
pray.
That would suck.
If they have football, first let's hope they have football. If they have football, they will have wrestling. They
Yeah.
can't give football a season and then be like, oh, sorry, we're not doing wrestling this year.
Well, you never know with the NCAA. I mean,
Yeah, they do what they want.
yeah. Um, How would you describe, or like, what is the team like? I guess at Wisconsin, like, what is the chemistry like?
Um, the chemistry's great now. I'll be honest, when I first got here, the team chemistry, I don't know what it was. It wasn't right for me. It was kind of clicky. I tell you, man, it was like there were three guys there. There were three guys who did their own thing. I didn't know everyone's name until like a year and a half into my college career. It was so strange. Guys would pop in and pop out. Um,
Like, quit?
and yeah, people will quit, or people just they wouldn't they wouldn't show up to summer practices at all, or it was just weird stuff, man. Or you just like people were really quiet. They're really quiet, standoffish. They'd show up when practice started, leave when practice was over. So it was just kind of strange. I remember I don't think I talked to but two guys my first month and a half here. So it was tough, man. But my class was a class of five, and we really worked to get that a lot better. And I think we still have a lot of stuff to work on, but we have three houses. There's seven in this house. I think there's five in a house probably 100 yards away. We live right next to Camp Randall as well, and then there's a house another 100 yards away from that has, I think, three or four people. So we have a pretty tight team now, um, and everyone's very comfortable with each other. I remember that was the biggest struggle coming into Wisconsin, was I'd go in the room and I wasn't comfortable with the team,
Yeah,
comfortable
it
being
wasn't like
being
a
myself.
super friendly environment.
No, it wasn't. I was just kind of nervous, and I kept to myself, but I scrapped hard. I remember I beat some guys up. So
That makes it tough though, like especially considering you were like really far away from home.
yeah, it was tough, man. I remember my first year. I counted, like I would know. It's like I got 150 days until I get to go home.
Damn.
149 days, 148. I'd like count it down. It was just I miss being back in California so much, but I love the coaching staff, and man, they worked really hard to get the team together. It was just really hard at the time. Um,
Mm,
but then I remember the second year it got substantially better.
nice. The
Yeah,
second year, Barry was still there.
yeah. Barry was there
Like,
second year, and then the third year was when Bono and them jumped in.
okay,
Yeah, but
nice.
right now everyone's comfortable with each other. Everyone knows each other. We've all had our moments with each other. So
Who would you say is the funniest guy on the team?
funniest guy on the team has to go to either um, Devin Barr is the goofiest. So he's pretty funny, and I'd say Garrett Model is probably the same way. Um, but Cole Martin is like he's kind of a quiet dude, but he's just like kind of smart alecky, really sharp. If you say something, he's going to be the one to catch you if you're saying something wrong. But so he's just probably the sharpest guy on the team. But Devin Barr is just like a goofy dude, so that's
Nice.
kind of funny. Um, but we got a lot of guys on the team who are kind of like Cole Martin. I mean, they're sharp. They'll catch you on it. Johnny Sebastian, Coach Bono. Coach Bono is kind of a clown sometimes. I know a lot of people don't see that in the interviews, but he's always cracking jokes before practice. This last year, I remember we had everyone had he would ask before practice if anyone had a joke to tell, so we're always cracking jokes and stuff. But then after that, it was like an hour of a beat down practice. So we'd
Nice.
laugh a little bit before practice, and then we'd get our butts kicked during practice.
Yeah.
So
Then it gets serious real quick.
yeah, it gets really serious.
Um, so not to like totally bring it to a sad note, but can you just like describe the day that you guys found out that you weren't going to NCAAs and what that was like, how the message was delivered?
Yeah, that was tough because I mean it wasn't that sad when they announced it because we kind of knew already that it was going to happen. It was just a matter of time. I walked into the room and everyone was huddled together, and I was like, "Oh, this is it! Like this is where they tell us that NCAA is canceled." So we kind of knew it was going down. But I remember at Big Tens, it was a joke. It was like, "Oh, they're going to cancel NCAA's because of the coronavirus." It was a total joke, and no one took it seriously. I was like, "No way are they going to cancel NCAA's for this coronavirus thing." because at the time it was like you thought nothing could possibly stop the NCAA's from happening or any sports organization from doing anything. And then a week comes by, and I think it was NHL decided no more NHL than NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing something because NCAA's was kind of hesitant, and then I saw something on ESPN where they were kind of getting on NCAA's for how irresponsible they were being, and I was like, this is where it happens. Like that's going to be the thing to do it. I think NCAA's was pressured to do it. They had to at some point, and with good
Yeah.
reason. I mean, it was a very serious virus, but we were just all in shock when the coaches told us that this was happening. It was dead silent in the room, and we all stayed pretty serious because coach told us there's maybe a 1% chance that NCAA's will still happen. Just stay serious, stay on your diet, all that stuff. But yeah, it was trippy, man. Because it originally started with there's no fans. They told us after practice like no fans at NCAA's. So we thought at some point that was the measure that they were taking, and that was final. So, but then as things started to progress, I was like, that's not going to be enough. That was not going to be enough, and then they did that. So, and then I think they canceled March Madness before they did us. So that was
Yeah. Yeah. I
and
saw
that
that.
was literally probably 2 hours. I work at a place called Adaptive Fitness, and they told me that they canceled March Madness. And in my head, I said it was a matter of time that they were going to
Yeah.
cancel it. Then I walk into practice 2 hours later, and coach told us.
Yeah. Yeah, man. For like we had five guys go to the D3 tournament, and like at first they were supposed to leave on like Thursday, and then our school's administration was like, you guys can't go. But like the tournament wasn't canceled. And then
Oh,
like they protested because it was a bunch of teams. It was like gymnastics, basketball, indoor track and field and stuff. And
right.
then so they like protested at Mitchell Hall, like the athletic building, and they finally let them go. So like the next day they're warming up and stuff at like 6 p.m. There's like 12 hours before the tournament starts, and it gets canceled. And it's just like it's tough for everyone, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I can't believe that the school shut it down before NCAA's did. That's
Yeah.
crazy. I knew a couple guys like on the track team here who they were I think in Texas or something. They had flown down to Texas to do a tournament, and they told them they were like right before the race started. They were like, "Up, oh, shut it down. It's canceled. We can't do it,"
That's tough.
which is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, what do you like to do outside of wrestling? I know you're
Outside of
super
wrestling,
into it, but
what's that?
I know you're super into wrestling, but like, if you aren't
Yeah.
doing anything wrestling related,
Um. So when I was in California, I really enjoy going to the beach and like body surfing. I know how to surf, but I'm not like exceptional or anything at it. I know how to get up on the board right away, but I'm not too crazy about it. But I just go to the beach. I love deep sea fishing. Deep sea fishing is a big hobby of mine. Haven't gone in a while though. It's just like, when you're a college athlete, you're very serious about your sport. I feel like especially in wrestling, but I love fishing, deep sea fishing, going fishing for tuna, yellowtail, dorado, things like that. In high school, funny enough, I actually have only gone hunting in California. I went hunting all 4 years of high school, and
really?
when I committed to Wisconsin, that was one of the things I thought. I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. I'll be able to go hunting more. I'll go deer hunting, turkey hunting. There's a lot more variety over here, but I haven't gone hunting once, which is kind of crazy.
There's
But
no time during the season though.
no, not at
I mean,
all.
it's tough.
Yeah, and it's now we get up so early. You're so exhausted. The days you have off, you're like, no, I'm just gonna sleep in. So, um, but I haven't been fishing either since I've been here, which is kind of funny enough. But
Deep
um,
sea fishing sounds totally awesome though.
deep sea fishing is awesome, man. But yeah, they drive you out overnight, so you're just like sleeping in the bunk beds down below, and then if it's a good day, you'll wake up to the sound of fish flopping on the deck. It'll be like 6 a.m. Sun won't even be up yet. People are fishing. But dude, deep sea fishing, a bad day is a bad day because you're stuck on a boat. No one's catching anything. It's so hit or miss. I've been on some boats. I went on a boat one time where they said it was the first time in 20 years on that boat, not a single person caught a single fish.
Wow.
It was that
Yeah,
crazy.
that's rough.
But when it hits, man, it hits hard. You drop your bait in the water and it gets smacked immediately.
So like when you catch like a big ass tuna or whatever it is, do
Yeah.
you like take that like do you get it filleted by like a professional or something?
Yeah, so you have like bags on the boat. You have a bunch of bags, and then you throw your fish in the bag, and then you keep fishing. And then at the end of the day, they'll cut them up, and then they'll put them in like plastic bags. You got to tip them uh, for like filleting the fish and everything. So,
Dude,
but
that's got to
it's
be a ton of fish.
oh yeah, they spend the time like sometimes they'll go trolling. Trolling is when you drop the lines when you're just like taking the boat back. You just drop the lines. Hopefully something that's following behind the boat will take the bait. But I've never caught anything trolling. I don't know why people do it. Um, but yeah, they spend like probably 3 hours flying the fish. Pretty crazy.
Wow. Yeah, I mean
But yeah,
I just bought like 7 cans of tuna today. Like you got to be able to get tons of cans of tuna out of one of those things.
yeah. I don't know why people do cans of, like canned tuna. That must be a different like part of the fish that it must be like part of the head or cheek or something because tuna is a very high quality fish. I don't know how they can sell it so cheap in cans.
Yeah, it's probably I don't want to think about that. But it's probably like the hot dog of fish.
Yeah.
So what's something people that don't know about you?
Something that people don't know about me. Uh, they don't know that I'm not good at basketball. Everyone tells me that I should have played basketball, but I suck at basketball. I'm no
Because you're
good.
tall.
Yeah, I got pretty good defense. I could swipe the ball out of someone's hands, but it's a very unorthodox look to it, man. Um, I I'm actually kind of artsy. I like to draw, things like that, but um, they don't know how much I love wrestling. That's another thing. I really love wrestling.
Would
So,
you ever do like wrestling media, like a podcast, or like be a broadcaster or anything like that?
I feel like yeah, if the opportunity was given to me, I'd do it. I feel like I have a good mind of the sport and could comment on people's wrestling and things like that, or I can interview people. With my experience and things like that, I could definitely relate to some of the best wrestlers in the country and ask them pretty intriguing questions. I feel like, but I don't know how that opportunity would be given to me. Um,
Like, because I feel like a lot of announcers, they're like great announcers and you're, well spoken, but they
yeah,
aren't that analytical about the matches. So it'd be cool to have more people that wrestle at a high level that, were like a part of the broadcasting and that kind of stuff.
yeah, it's crazy. I watched actually Jake Varner's Olympic gold medal match of all
Oh boy.
things, and I think they just got a random commentator from London to do it, and I was like, we could get anyone better to do this,
Yeah,
but NCAA's is a little better, and they do like. I remember
definitely.
one year they had Dake and Burrows, and I think Taylor. Then they had Anthony Robles commentating, so that's pretty exciting. That's pretty fun. That's pretty exciting. I think it would be awesome, and then you get to go to those events for free, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, even like the top guys in our sport, like Christian Piles, like he's pretty good, but he only wrestled in like high school, so most things
Yeah,
are just like a gator roll. But
yeah. It's interesting to see at Flow. I think it's CP. CP really has a good mind for the sport. I listen to him, and he's pretty excited about wrestling.
yeah,
But there's a
I
couple
love the
guys.
enthusiasm.
Yeah. But there's a couple guys. Yeah, I listen to it. And I'm like, you don't really know much about what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know.
So a lot of wrestlers are like really big into food because they can't eat food for a while. Are
Yep.
you like kind of a foodie?
I'm definitely a foodie man. There's nothing that I will not eat. Before I started wrestling, I was a very picky eater. I didn't eat much. Like I remember I didn't like Mexican food. I didn't like Chinese food. I wouldn't eat
Dude, those are
spicy
some of the
things.
best ones.
Yeah, now I realize that. You know, but it was only until I started cutting so much weight that I was like, I will eat anything. So I
Yeah.
now I have like my own hot sauce collection downstairs. I watched
Oh, dude,
that
hot sauce is
YouTube
life.
show Hot Ones. Have you ever watched that?
Is that with like celebrities?
Yeah, they do like celebrity interviews and stuff, and they eat
Yeah,
hot wings.
that's good stuff.
So I watch that when I'm cutting weight, and then I buy all the hot sauces. So I'm kind of a fool for that stuff. But yeah, my favorite food would have to be sushi. I could eat sushi all day, and that's why I love deep sea fishing so much, is because you get basically free sushi. You know, when I went back to California, actually, we have like frozen tuna in our freezer, and my dad makes like frozen tuna with scallions and ponzu sauce. Then we have like wasabi and soy sauce mixed together. So it's just like I love sushi so much. But from an unhealthy food standpoint, which I don't get my hands on much, um, I like double stuffed Oreos a lot. I like double stuffed specifically. I'm not a big fan of the mega stuff. I'm not a big fan of the single stuff. It's got to be double stuffed.
I heard you
And
on that other podcast talking about like the cup of stuff. Like, man,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
just
they're
nasty.
just at some point. I think they even made like went a step above the mega stuff. I was like, "Are you serious?" And
Extra
then
mega
that's
stuff or something.
yeah, and then that's when like me on the other podcast, we're like, just give us the bag of stuff. Like, quit goofing around and give us the whole bag.
Yeah.
Uh, but and then I'm a big fan of Mountain Dew. I like the orange one. I like the red one. I like the green one. I hate Voltage. I don't like the blue one. But I just tried it the other day after of like a 2.5 month hiatus of Mountain Dew, and it tastes like syrup to me now. I don't know what it is. I got to
Yeah.
get reacquainted.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem for a lot of people, is it just tastes like syrup.
Yeah. I didn't like, my parents didn't really buy soda growing up. So, like, once I was in high school and all my friends drank like Mountain Dew when we were playing COD or whatever, I was like,
Yeah,
I don't know, man. It's just super sweet. But
yeah, yeah,
when, if you're ever cutting weight and you see a Mountain Dew in the fridge, that's like the best thing in the world.
yeah, yeah. I've
So,
never. I remember when I first started wrestling. Those were the days when it was like after weigh-ins, anything was up for grabs. So we'd go to KFC, we'd go where Popeyes, we'd go to Taco Bell with my dad. But then you got to get serious after a
Taco Bell.
while. After weigh-ins, you have to eat the right things. So
Yeah.
I remember like when I was 10, drinking a Mountain Dew after weigh-ins and feeling like my body felt like garbage, but I was in heaven.
Yeah. You're like, I'm ready to go, baby.
Yeah, yeah,
I saw like a video about Tristan Moran, like saying like cooking something up about how he's really into like making nice food. Is that
yeah.
all a facade, or is this like is he really big into making stuff?
That's not a facade, man. That's genuine stuff. He loves cooking. He goes to all of those. Apparently there's places you can go where they teach you how to make uh is it like sur la table or something? It's like a French place where
Okay.
you can go and learn new meals, and then he makes a bunch of stuff, and he likes trying to see how cheap he can make things and how good he can make cheap things. So but he's an incredible cook, man. But he gets a lot of smoke now because when he first came here, he made this like coconut chicken dish. So it's like coconut breaded with, or chicken breaded with coconut.
Hmm.
And dude, it was delicious. But I cut into it, and it's like
Was it
seared
pink?
chicken. It was like seared chicken. So
Wait, what do you mean?
he didn't cook it all the way. It was like
Oh,
seared. So
oh,
we give him crap. Every time he says he's making something, we're like, is it the medium rare chicken this time or something? So we give him some crap about that. But he's an excellent cook.
hey, it's tough out there, man. You can't overcook it or it's gross, but there's a
Yeah.
fine line of if it's healthy to eat or if you'll die from it. So,
Chicken, I think chicken is the inferior meat. I definitely love a nice prime rib steak or a ribeye
oh,
steak. Ribeye
definitely.
steak. Yeah.
But are you willing to pay for it? That's the thing.
Last year I wasted a lot of money, man. That's the only thing I can make.
Nice.
So
Dude, they're worth it. So who would win? So I heard Tristan Moran is pretty big now. If he was a little bit smaller and the weight was 165, who would win him or Seth Gross at Seth Gross's peak weight?
Seth Gross's peak weight. Tristan Moran or Seth Gross? So you're saying they're essentially the same weight, right?
Yeah. Well, how big does Seth get? Like 155?
Seth, yeah, Seth gets up to about 155.
Okay.
It's an interesting match in the room, So I don't want to judge it on how it goes in the room because you know Seth gives up a lot of takedowns in the room, but when it comes time for competition, man, he's got it down. So if you're going off of how it will go in the room, Tristan weighing 165, Seth weighing 155. Tristan might edge him, but I'd say with how Seth competes, Seth's going to take the cake for sure on that one. Yeah, I think Seth doesn't take practice very seriously, as he shouldn't. No one should take practice that seriously. He's just looking for opportunities to learn and try new things. And I've seen Tristan edge him out a couple times. If it's a Tristan, I think in both scenarios though, Tristan might go up by 3 or 4 points, but Tristan's gonna gas. Seth's gonna finish it off.
I love it. So you got to give me a final score though.
The final score, I got to make it close. I'd say let's go 8-11 in Seth's favor.
I'm gonna post this clip and tag both of them in it.
My phone's gonna blow up. Tristan's gonna be so pissed.
But good stuff.
Yeah.
So like I just got a few matchups that I want to throw the names of some guys up there and just see who you think would win. So the first one is for the Olympic spot. Zane, Yanni, and Jo. Who do you think comes out on top of that?
Dude, that's such a toss-up at this point. At one point, I would say Yanni. Yanni's definitely the most technical wrestler out of all of them. He's definitely the most crafty. But I think he's in a little bit of a rut. I'm not gonna lie. I think he got a lot of glory after he beat Zane. A lot of glory after he beat Bajrang. So I think at this point he got in a little bit of a rut. And Jo has stepped it up substantially. I don't know what he did. I don't know what adjustments he made, but when he showed up to Texas, dude, he was crushing everyone.
He's crisp and he's quick.
And honestly, I think I'm kind of an underestimator of Zane Rutherford. I look at that and I think he's maybe the worst out of all three of them. But that's kind of naive because he's beat both of them.
Yeah. I feel like that's how most people feel though, just because he's not like flashy and but he beats some of the dudes, so it's back and forth.
I feel like Yanni's funk beats Zane, or actually I would say Yanni's funk beats Jo, but Zane beats Yanni's funk, just because I think Zane is so fundamental, Yanni is so technical, and he's crafty, but Jo is quick. So who do I want to win? Yanni. Who do I think will win? I'm going to say Jo. I think Jo will take that one. I think he's going to be strong. I think he's going to be really strong at the end of the day, really big. I know he's cutting a lot of weight, and I think he's on top of his game right now. But then again, we also have another, 6 months before this match happens?
Who even knows at this point?
Yeah, so I think Jo, if this match were to happen, probably would have made the team. He was just as sharp as he'd ever looked.
Yeah, when his weight cut's on point, that's a different type of person right there.
Yeah, he crushed McKenna at Nationals, and Yanni was in that weight too.
Yeah. This is one I'm really looking forward to, especially now that Gilman's at the Penn State place. But yeah, Gilman versus Spencer Lee.
I got Spencer Lee all day.
Really?
Again, I think I'm an underestimator of Gilman as well. I think Gilman had his time. He's definitely, from what Matt McDonough says, he's one of the toughest dudes he's ever wrestled. So I give him that respect. But the way that Spencer Lee looked at Nationals, he looked ridiculous, man. He's so technical. He's so sharp. He's got such incredible defense. He's one of the guys who you can't really watch and critique very much, other than he gets gassed once in a while, which that may be his Achilles heel against Gilman. But when I watch Gilman, he seems like he's got 2 or 3 things here or there. I always say that there's 2 different kinds of wrestlers, and this really actually was kind of exposed in the Spencer Lee versus Tomasello match. There's the wrestler who he goes into the match without a game plan, but he knows how to improvise, and Spencer Lee improvised so well against Tomasello. But there's the wrestler who goes into the match with a game plan, and he's and he has this idea of what he's going to do, right? And he keeps trying to get it the whole match. And that was what Tomasello was doing. He was just trying to get that elbow past high crotch. He couldn't improvise. Okay, that's not happening. How am I going to get to a different attack? He's faking on me. I need to shoot on him there. It was just very one-dimensional. And I think Spencer is so much more of an improviser than Thomas Gilman is. I think Spencer will edge him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of like Seth Gross in that way. Seth Gross is just the master of, making stuff up on the fly and winning.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like it just happens. It looks like they get lucky, but really they're the improvisers, man. The
Yeah.
people who can scramble, the people who can attack both sides of the body at all times. They just make it happen. They're the people who got like the clutch gene. I don't think anyone would ever describe Tomasello as clutch gene because I don't think he's going to be able to pull it off last second. The guys know what's coming.
Yeah. Do you ever like roll around with Seth?
I rolled around with Seth like maybe the first week he got here once, but other than that, I did. I was like 173 this whole season, and he got down to weight pretty quick, and then he
Yeah.
made his drop down to 125, which was pretty tough for him. So he was pretty big, but he had like two or three guys that he scrapped with, and I had my two or three guys that I scrapped with. I think it's something that we probably should have done. We could have learned a lot, but I think in the middle of season we were in the habit of wrestling these two or three guys. We were comfortable there and didn't want to ruin our workout wrestling with a lighter guy, or he would be
Mm.
wrestling with a bigger guy. You know.
So do you try and like stick with just like a couple partners that you go with?
Um, if they're around the same size, I'll wrestle anybody. But I don't like wrestling guys like who are exceptionally small or guys who are exceptionally big.
Yeah,
I
that's
try to
fair.
I try to mix it up, but obviously there's a few guys in the room who give the best drill feel. It's just like it feels really good to drill with them. And there's some guys who you're drilling with them, and you're like, this guy is so stiff. I cannot do anything right now, and this is so frustrating. So that's kind of the limitation there.
Hmm. The last matchup question is Dacre Burrows.
Dacre Burrows. I don't think it's going to happen because I think it's going to be Dake Evan Wick and then Evan Wick Jordan Burroughs. So, but we'll
All
we'll
right,
we'll talk in theoreticals here.
you can go with
um,
that. Okay, Evan Wick, Jordan Burrows.
Evan Wick Jordan Burroughs tech fall.
I love it. How are you gonna tech him
Jordan
though?
Burroughs. No, I'm just kidding. What's that?
How are you gonna tech Jordan Burrows?
No,
I'd
I'm
love to
just
see
kidding.
it happen.
Yeah, that would be an interesting match to see. I'd have to catch a trap arm immediately.
For
Catch him
sure.
on his shot and then trap arm. That's going to be the end of it.
Sometimes you can get a lace and keep it going a couple times.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe trap arm and then lace. Um, but I know I don't know. We'll go Dake Burrows because it's a little bit more realistic, obviously.
Okay.
Um, that is it going to be as good of a match as we think? What do you think? Do you think it's going to be a blowout either way, or
Dude, I think the only way it would be a blowout is if Dake won, just because Burrows' matches are usually come down to the wire. But at like I could see Burrows winning, I could see Dake winning. Who really knows? It's just a fun question to ask because like I just think it's interesting when people are very like one-sided about it because it's like, dude, who knows? I mean, those are two of the best wrestlers of all time.
yeah, yeah. I I got Dake edging him out. Um,
That's who I lean towards also.
he's younger than him. Um, he's a bit more fundamental. I think Dake has adjusted well to Burrows. Like every time, he's gotten a little bit better, a little bit better. And I think Burrows isn't quite the same beast that he was in the beginning of his career. I mean, he's really. When was the last time he won a world title? Was it 2017 or 2018? I think it was a few
One
years
of
ago.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, and Dake's been on top at a higher weight class both times. I mean, I don't know what it means to win a non-Olympic weight versus an Olympic weight. It's probably a little bit harder at 74 kilograms with Sidakov and those guys. But I think I think Dake. I think Dake takes the cake on that one.
The thing about Dake too is like look at his persistence after like not making a world team so many times and then he finally did it and like yeah, he lost to Jordan Burroughs a few times, but he's like obviously most top guys are, but he's the kind of guy that's not going to stop till he beats him. And I mean, they haven't wrestled in like 2 years, so he's gotten so much better since then.
Yeah, and like Dake hasn't made an Olympic team now, so I think he's going to be on a rampage to make that Olympic team. And I think Burroughs he's at the end of his career. He's won an Olympic gold. I think obviously he wants to win another one, but I think Dake wants it more. Dake, they both do the right things, I'm sure, but Dake just seems like you said. Dake seems to have made like progress leaps and bounds over these last few years. He's
Definitely.
another improviser. He he can score when he needs to. I mean, we saw that with his match with Derringer at U.S. Open a couple of years ago, where he went down with like I forget what time he went down, but he went down I think 3-4 and then scored immediately. He kind of sits around being ahead by 1 point, and it got him in trouble at U.S. Open with Derringer. But dude, the guy just like they blew the whistle, and he just immediately got to a leg and took him out again. You know?
Yeah. Man, that's like okay, obviously you're there too. And I
Yeah,
forgot about that just because like I view you as the college wrestler.
right.
But
No, I
um
understand Dakin Burrows, but
but dude, there's a lot of good guys there. I mean, Imar's another guy that's like just inches away from Burrows.
yeah,
Dude,
Imar's good
Nolf's
there.
there too.
Yeah, Nolf, Chenzo, Marinelli. I'll be interested to see how all the college guys, because none of the college guys really have wrestled in Imar or Burroughs. Because Imar's beat Burroughs already once. And then Dake, they haven't wrestled this next generation of college wrestlers, and we'll see. I think the first few matches, like for example, if Marinelli were to wrestle a Burroughs or a Dake, I think he would get crushed the first time around. But I think that would just be because he's wrestling Dake. It's like in his head he's wrestling Dake. In his head he's
Mm.
wrestling Burroughs. Instead of just thinking that he can go out there and dominate and get to his stuff, he's probably going to be a little bit hesitant and probably beat himself.
How
But
would
it'll be
like
interesting to see 2-3 matches in.
I view Dake and Burrows as just two of the most like athletic specimens of all time. Like I feel like
Yeah,
Marinelli's just like, you know, here and they're way up there.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, then again, I think Marinelli lost to Isaiah Martinez. I hate to do the whole transitive property thing, but
Everyone does it though. It's
Marinelli,
the only way.
yeah, everyone does it. So, but I think Marinelli's had close matches with Isaiah Martinez. Isaiah Martinez has beat Jordan Burroughs at one point. I think Marinelli only lost like 5-2 or something to Isaiah Martinez.
In
So,
college.
yeah, in college. So, um,
Yeah.
I think I think
Imar's
it
made
would.
those jumps though.
Who has Imar? Yeah,
Imar.
I just think it would be a lot more of an interesting match than people think. A Chenzo versus Burroughs, a Chenzo versus Dake. I think
Yeah.
those matches would be a little bit closer. They'd be a little bit more competitive than people think. Maybe not first time around, but I give you my word, second time, third time around, those matches will be really close.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
So the last question I got for you is um, how has wrestling in college kind of changed you as a person in ways that you didn't see coming, like going into it? Like, what are some nice side effects that it's helped you develop?
Just persistence, man. I've been very persistent my whole college career, and understanding that even when the results aren't there, you have to be dedicated. When the results aren't there, you have to keep doing. You have to adjust, right? Do something different, but you have to trust in your training and understand that what you're doing now, if you just keep doing it, you're gonna get better. You just have to understand. I read a couple books on like the growth mindset. Just there's some people who have a fixed mindset where they think, oh, my abilities are my abilities and I can't change it. There's some people who are meant to be this way and some people who are not meant to be like that. You have to think more of a growth mind. Like I can make myself into anything. I'm just gonna keep working. I'm gonna keep getting better. And I see a lot of guys kind of fall victim to the idea that, oh, it was a good run, but it's not meant for me. And I think if you stay persistent in college wrestling, it's one of the most challenging things you'll do, but you just have to trust in yourself and trust in your training. And I think that's one thing that I've come away with. I've just been a lot more persistent and strong willed.
That's a perfect answer, man. I love it.
Awesome. Thank
Well,
you, man.
dude, thanks for coming on and taking the time to do this. This has been a lot of fun.
No problem. It's been a lot of fun for me as well, man.